Hello and welcome to Simcha, a celebration of life. I'm your host, Aaron Halevi. In today's show, we conclude our series on ecology and Judaism. Join an ambitious group of men who are learning to sing Haftarot, or passages from the Book of Prophets, and find out about Chief Rabbi Goldstein's new learning program, Avot 101. The environment is a natural issue of concern in Judaism, and there are a large number of biblical, rabbinic, and mystical sources that deal with or touch on the issues involved. Given all the positive rabbinic and biblical statements regarding environmental issues, Ilana Steyn discusses how we can take a greater role and show greater concern for our planet and the environment.
The Torah, as we know, is a book of laws. There is narrative, but the majority of it is laws. And fascinatingly, amongst the laws, there are quite a few that deal with the environment and what we need to do within the environment to live properly on this earth. The first and I guess most famous is the law of Shemitah, the law of the sabbatical, where every 7 years there is no planting done in the land of Israel, which is, of course, the law of letting the land lie fallow. And we know today that that is vital to ensure that your soil does not become depleted of nutrients, has a chance to rest, and in fact by the next year is able to grow crops again. So this idea, which is quite modern, and that sits really within the last century or so, or a couple of centuries, in fact was around, of course, at the time of the Torah, where in fact every 7 years the entire land was supposed to lie fallow. Very interesting, very complex issue, but certainly, as I say, one of the most famous green laws that we have. Another law that's very interesting is the idea of urban planning, where the idea of having green spaces within an urban environment, as we know today, is vitally important, both from the idea of having trees and plants to release oxygen in a world that is filled with carbon dioxide, thanks to fossil fuel usage emissions that we have today, methane emissions, etc. What we need is a lot more oxygen, and so we know that every town needs to have green spaces, parks, etc. This, in fact, can be found all the way back in the time of the Torah, because the Torah in Numbers talks about the fact that when in the city of the Levites were allocated certain cities throughout Israel, and within those, the city had to have an area known as a migrash, which was an open area in which there could be no building, but also no agriculture. So what you would have, according to the Book of Numbers, is you would have the city in the middle. Around that was a certain area, about 1,000 cubits, whatever that measurement is, around that, which was considered to be this open green area. And then on the outskirts, finally, was the area of agriculture, of place where the sheep and the cattle could graze. And that area was not allowed to be built into. So if your city grew, you had to then increase your green area, and subsequently your agricultural areas were further out. So there was no getting away from zoning it as green area and then building a whole complex of houses. That wasn't something that could happen. And according to Maimonides from the Middle Ages, he says that in fact every city was supposed to be built like that, not just the Levite cities. So there again we have an example of something that we think is very modern, but in fact was present all the way back in the first moments when the Jewish people entered the land of Israel in order to settle. Another very interesting law is that of, and this only really came about in the time of the Talmud, or at least is expressed in the time of the Talmud, is the idea that sheep and goats were not allowed to graze in the land of Israel, which is very interesting when we consider that today, if you go to Israel, you will see the Bedouin with sheep and goats. At the time of the Talmud, it was understood that sheep and goats, when they graze, pretty much rip out the entire grass plant. So that's the root as well as, of course, the leaf or stem. And what that means is that next year there's no grass to grow there. And so they understand that something like that, grazing your sheep and goats, would create a wasteland. So from all of these laws, and in fact there are plenty more that deal with things like environmental pollution, not having an area where there's smoke, or a tannery where there's going to be bad fumes in an area where people are living. They talk about the fact that having a green area, for example, within a town is good for the people, and that you shouldn't go and live in a town that doesn't have green areas. So what we can understand from is they were very aware of the world around them, and of how we were meant to look after it. And so it comes through not just in our philosophy, but of course through very, very minute details of life in Israel 2,000 and more years ago, and of course something that we can very easily pick up on right here and now. So for example, the law of don't waste, while it may have come from an ancient law about not besieging a city using a fruit tree, of course today what we can look at is how do we use the world? We are a throwaway society, and that in fact the Torah says is not right. We're not meant to waste like that. We're not meant to just use plastic stuff and throw it away. Why not instead of using a plastic bottle, for example, for your water, which then goes into a landfill, which then causes immense damage to the planet, use glass. These laws incorporate the 3 R's of the environment that we talk about today, which is reduce, reuse, recycle. Reduce what we use on this earth. Reuse that which we can't reduce, and finally recycle when we have no option. All 3 of these really come through the law of don't waste that we see all those years ago in the book of Deuteronomy.
Welcome back. During the Shabbat, or Sabbath morning service, we read passages from the prophets, which are called Haftorah, and are sung in cantillations or trops, which is no easy feat. We joined a group of determined men learning this age-old tradition.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu.
Most of the listeners have probably heard the word Torah. Torah means the Jewish Bible, primarily the 5 books of Moses. But what is a Haftarah? The words might sound similar, but etymologically, they're completely different. Haftarah means the ending or the conclusion. And that is when the Haftarah is said. It's said at the conclusion of the reading of the weekly Sedra portion of the law. Why do we have a Haftarah? The answer is, there was a stage when the study of the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, was forbidden by law in the country where the Jewish people were living. Theory is that it happened round about the time of King Antiochus, round about the Hanukkah story time, where they forbade the study of the Torah. The rabbis did not want Jewish people to forget the study of the Torah, and therefore, since the study of the prophets, the Nevi'im, and books of Kings was permissible, they found parts in Kings and in prophets which mirrored the story that was read in the Sedra, the portion of the law, that particular week. For instance, the Sedra of Shelach Lecha deals with the spies that Moses sent into the Promised Land. The Haftarah for that week deals with the story of the spies who Joshua sent into the Promised Land. So you can see there's a parallel there, and that happens every week.
The inspiration came from a friend of mine who decided that he wanted to do an Haftarah, and he went to somebody who taught him, and he had a whole function, a bar mitzvah crowd, he invited people, and it was superb. So it was somehow something that I always felt I wanted to do myself. So I thought, well, I knew then the Camp Space Shul, Ruben was always the maven. He did a wonderful Haftarah, and I was pretty certain he would be prepared to teach us, which he readily agreed to do. And from that it grew.
The Haftarah itself is said to a tune. The tune is called the Trop. The Trop has several notes, And the Trop helps one understand the grammar. For instance, in English, if you have a sentence, the teacher said the principal is a fool, depending on the punctuation, can have two different meanings. You could say, the teacher, said the principal, is a fool, in which case, the teacher is a fool. On the other hand, you could say, the teacher said, the principal's a fool, which means the principal here is the fool. Same sentence, but because of the punctuation, changes the meaning. And the Trop, the notes, help one understand the meaning of the text.
When I came, I thought it was just going to be another initiative that dies before it starts. But Benny was most determined, and he and Harold came. They wanted to learn Haftarah. And I thought that was a brilliant thing, and I said, yes, we'll do it. And we started very soon after that. These are guys who were shul goers. They can read Hebrew, and they wanted to learn something more. And I was very flattered that they asked me. I thought it was a great thing if they asked. And we started off at my home. We met on Tuesday nights. We had a whiskey just to unwind a little bit. And then we started with the Haftorah Trop. We didn't start straight away with the Haftorah themselves, because I wanted them to be able to learn any Haftorah. So for approximately 6 months, we only learnt the Trop.
When do we say a Haftarah? The Haftarot are said whenever the Torah is read on a Shabbat, the Jewish Sabbath, and on festivals. So how does one sing a Haftarah beautifully or correctly? It's all done for you. All you have to do is learn the 17 notes. Once you learn the 17 notes, just like a musician knows what a crotchet and a quaver should sound like, so someone who says a Haftarah will know what a mapach and a pashta sound like as well. They're all there. All you have to do is read them and intone them. And once you know the notes, one can say any Haftarah. And when you do it, and you do it properly, everybody in a synagogue service would know that it was a good Haftarah, appreciate it, and enjoy it.
If you know 7 or 8 of them, you know 90% of the Haftarah, of the Trop. So it's not, but it's difficult. It's the one goes ha 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 ha, and another one goes ha 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 ha. There's subtle differences, so it's not easy. And the thing to do is to get it right.
Good day, everybody, and welcome to this very auspicious occasion of the 10th anniversary of Trop Chevra. It's been a wonderful experience for all of us. And in addition to that, on the occasion of our 10th anniversary, we are presenting one of these books to each of the shuls which hosted us over the past 10 years. And each one of those shuls, we're going to do an Haftarah at each one of those shuls, and we will present one of these books to the shul. You know, if you go to shul, you very seldom see a young person doing Haftarah, other than a bar mitzvah, of course. But otherwise, it's always the older guys and one thing or another. And I feel it's something that's never really been encouraged. And I thought that it's a wonderful opportunity, and in fact, it's a win-win situation, because here we are learning to do Haftarah. We've got Ruben who teaches, and the shul benefits as well, because we're drawing people to the shul, we're bringing our family, we're sponsoring the brocha, and we're really enjoying it. And out of that, it's grown tremendously. And over the 10 years, there have been lots of guys who've they've joined, they've done an Haftarah, and they've decided it's enough for the moment. But there's still a nucleus of a lot of guys, and that's how the thing's grown.
We started to do actual Haftarot. Benny made his debut at Kansbay Shul. Ray Weinberg then joined us, and Harold Noik did his first one. And chaps from all over the peninsula heard about it and started coming. We built up a nice little a group, and we were having Haftarot in various shuls in the peninsula.
After my bar mitzvah, I stopped all forms of Haftarahs or shul. And I happened to bump Reuben about 9 years ago at a wedding. And he said, you know what, Ronnie, I've got 4 starters. They're just learning Haftarah. Why don't you come and join us? So I went on a Tuesday night, and I listened to them. And my Hebrew's okay, but when I heard them do it, I said to Reuben, it's impossible. How can you read the Trop and Hebrew at the same time? I'll never do it. Reuben said, take one step at a time. It's like a race. You start off slowly, and as time goes on, you achieve what you want to do.
Everybody's at a different level. Every single person is at a different level. If somebody can read Hebrew, it's a win, because you've got to look at a couple of things at the same time. You've got to look at the Hebrew, you've got to look at the notes, and you've got to be able to concentrate. Now, you ask if somebody can't read Hebrew at all, and I have guys who can't read Hebrew, so I try to teach them phonetically. There are websites where, and I give them a recording. The ones who can read Hebrew get a recording, but only right at the end. I don't teach anybody just by note. If they can't read Hebrew, I'll teach them through a recording.
Akov halev, Akov halev, Mikol vanush. No, I've got this whole thing on. Mikol vanush mi yedaenu. V'lateit leish kidrachav.
I heard about this group about 2 years ago, and it just so happened that it was close to my 80th birthday, and I hadn't done a Haftarah since my bar mitzvah, and I never learned the Trops because I learned it like a parrot. And a friend of mine said to me, come along to these Haftarah groups, you get a nice scotch to start with, and that really appealed to me. And I thought, well, I'll give it a try. And because it was my 80th birthday, I learned the Trops in about 6 months, and I did my first Haftarah, and my children came from overseas, and it was just a wonderful occasion.
At the moment, we've got about 20 guys, a nucleus of 20. We get about between 12 and 15 on a Tuesday night. We've probably had about 35 guys go through us. We're open to anybody in the peninsula. We're not exclusive to any shul. Anybody who wants to do a Haftarah can come and learn to do a Haftarah. The point is they must want to do it. There's no pressure on anybody to come. If they want to, they're very welcome. We have enjoyable evenings. The wives are unbelievable. They give us a spread afterwards. We have a whiskey to start off with. It's a fun evening, and it's a learning evening. And it really is, it's a beautiful experience. It really is.
Started 7 years ago. Benny cornered me in Checkers, and he said, come to the Trop class. I said, what Trop class? I can't even speak Hebrew. Eventually, he phoned me one night, and I went there. 7 years later, I've done Haftarahs. I've learned Hebrew. I now daven Mincha Maariv in shul every night. But my biggest joy was when my late mother heard me do my first Haftarah. And I could see her sitting upstairs, and with all the climbing nachas, here her little baby was doing Haftarah. And now I was a once-a-year shul goer. Now I go every night, I daven, and my whole life is sort of changed because of this. I'm not a frummer, but I'm more observant.
You know, something which I also thought of, which is very special, is the Chavashaft that we've built up. And when we do an Haftarah, more often than not, you find guys following them. We go to shul, we support them, and you know that's just been part of the spin-offs that we've had along the ways. And I must say, to me, it's been really very special and wonderful.
Pirkei Avot, directly translated as Ethics of Our Fathers, is a compilation of ethical and moral teachings. At the recent Sinai X conference, Chief Rabbi Goldstein launched a brand new multimedia learning platform that guides one through the teachings of Pirkei Avot, called Avot 101.
When people hear the word learning, they often think, oh, well, that's studying and it's serious and it's onerous. But actually, learning Torah is something completely different. It's about discovering God's wisdom and applying it to our day-to-day lives in a way that sheds light on absolutely everything. And that's what Sinai Circles is about. It's really about us learning, but learning specifically Pirkei Avot, which has been this amazing work, this body of knowledge. It's part of the Talmud, it's part of the oral Torah that has been handed down from generation to generation, and it contains so many life lessons applying to every aspect of life, to our relationships, to our sense of well-being, to our sense of identity, to our sense of mission, to our responsibilities with regards to society, to our families. Every dimension of what it means to be a human being, spiritual, psychological, physical, moral, every dimension it applies and gives us direction for our lives. And so Sinai Circles has been created as an initiative for the entire South African Jewish community to learn together the whole of Pirkei Avot, the ethics of the fathers, this classic work that has inspired generation after generation of Jews going back thousands of years. And we have the privilege of entering that conversation. There's a dynamic conversation that has been taking place over the generations. When we learn, we join that conversation and we find and discover that beautiful thing that everyone is looking for, inspiration. But really, there's nothing to worry about. You're not going to be on your own. We have created amazing resources which are available to you at the click of a button. Podcasts, written material, printed material, all available in order to accompany you through this remarkable journey of discovery and a journey of inspiration as you learn one part of Pirkei Avot after another, starting to see this vista of perspective on life and the purpose of life and who we are and why we are here and how to live each and every single day. Sinai Circles is designed so that you can do it on your own, in your own time, when it suits you, at your convenience. It's also enhanced when you do it with other people. Either you can learn with another person, which we call Chavruta. Chavruta learning is where you learn with another person, and that's the real energy and dynamism of Jewish learning, is in conversation, debate, and discussion. That's when it really comes alive. So you'll get a lot more out of it if you can find someone to do this with, or even better, to find a group of people to meet regularly to go through the material. But really, it's in your hands, and you can do it and make it and engage with Sinai Circles and all of the beautiful content and ideas of Pirkei Avot. You can do it as you wish, on your own, together with somebody else, or in a group. This is really a journey, and it's a journey of step by step, because of course Pirkei Avot has tremendous depth and it has tremendous breadth and number of chapters. But actually, in this journey, we're going to take you through step by step, Mishnah by Mishnah, section by section, and we'll be releasing the content and material and ideas of Pirkei Avot on a regular basis, and it will be incremental. More and more information will be released so that it's digestible, that you have a sense of being able to conquer it, to understand it, to savor it, and to appreciate it. Pirkei Avot has been the companion of Jews throughout the generations. It's been in Jewish homes for thousands of years, and families, parents and children, and every part of Jewish society has so enjoyed and been inspired by Pirkei Avot over all of these generations. It's now our opportunity as the South African Jewish community to join that conversation and be part of appreciating this incredible legacy that is our gift, the gift of Pirkei Avot.
Well, that's all we have for this week's episode of Simcha, a celebration of life. As always, we'd love to hear from you, so please send us a message on Facebook at Spirit Sister Productions. From me, Aaron Halevi, and the rest of the Simcha team, have a great week ahead.